No matter if you've really forgotten or if you're pretending, I'll wait. I'll wait for a conclusion. I'll wait for you to tell me the truth. You'll wait for me? Yes, I'll wait for you. No matter what, I'll wait for you. I'll keep waiting, no matter how long it takes. But remember this. If you lie to me again, if I find out you're still lying to me, I won't be stabbed in the same place twice. I will make you live a life worse than death. What's a life worse than death? Does a life worse than death mean you'll spare me? No. But you didn't kill me or beat me. I don't beat imbeciles. What are you doing? Remembering you. Thank you. You're the only one willing to give me a life worse than death. Hello readers by eyes and by ears, this is Mari Chan and welcome back to my channel. If you're wondering why in the world I started this video like this, it's because we are going to be digging into a very particular sentence in Remnants of Filth Volume 1 by Zhou Bao or Meat Bun. And if you have not reached page 212 yet, then I suggest you do not listen to this video. And to make that more clear, just in case you were not aware of like, okay, what chapter is that? It's going to be chapter 19. So if you've not made it to chapter 19, then please pause this and wait until you have, and then come back. So one of the lines that stood out the most to me within this entire volume is, "You're the only one who's willing to give me a life worse than death." And that was a word of thanks from Gù Máng to Morsi. Now, I'm the kind of person that believes, even though Gù Máng has no idea what he's talking about because he has wolf brain right now, okay? And he was like, does it mean you'll spare me? Like you didn't beat me or kill me or anything. So he's thinking that maybe this is a good thing. I still do not believe that that line was accidentally put within the book. So I want us to take the time to actually dissect it and see what it means. But in the midst of that, I am going to be sharing a personal story to try to walk through this process. So the thing is, you guys, I started painting, yes, because it's fun and it's therapeutic. So a lot of times I may just paint something because I think it looks nice and there's a message I want to get across, but other times I use it to work through my emotions and work through trauma that I've experienced. And I want to share that with you all because I believe that from the Danmei books that I read and from painting, there are so many things that I've learned or that has helped me overcome certain issues in life. And I want to share that with you. So this piece that you see is inspired by this line. And we're going to dissect what it potentially means. The first thing I'm going to say before taking the literal, the emotional and thematic implications is looking at it from a very literal perspective, not even in the book, but in life. Of course, if someone were to say, thank you, you're the only one willing to give me a life worse than death, we're going to assume that it's sarcastic, right? And so if someone just flat out says, thank you for giving me a life worse than death, we know it's sarcastic. We know it's a bitter thanks. And the speaker is not actually grateful, but they're expressing some pain and betrayal and despair, saying basically like, what you have done to me has left me in a condition so terrible, I'd rather be dead. And even though this is not the case for Gù Máng because he doesn't have his memories, I would like to think that if he did have his memories, but he couldn't get away from the wolf mentality, like if he knew what the Liao kingdom did by taking his two souls away and making him think he's a freaking animal, then I think he would not like being in that state. And he would probably rather be dead, especially when we think about how he was brought back to his kingdom of Chonghua in such a humiliating form. So just wanted to put that out there as far as like a literal meaning, even though we know that it's not the case. But now let's go into the emotional and thematic implications. The first one is going to be betrayal and abandonment. So obviously in this case for myself, we're going to be talking about how a person has been deeply hurt by someone they trusted. So we can't really say whether or not Gù Máng trusted the Liao kingdom or not. But we'll get there. For me, the person that I most trusted in my life would have been my mother. I spent my entire life with her. At one point, it was just she and I. Then I, and her husband, and then they divorced. And then somewhere along the lines, it became me, my baby sister, her, and her newer husband. And then I grew up, and she had two more children close to the time of me leaving for college and then gone. So we have pretty much lived an isolated life, from estranged from her side of the family and my father's side of the family. So there's that abandonment already right there, because I believed that my father did not love me and did not want anything to do with me, and just assumed that I was the odd child out, which was also the scenario with my mother, as far as her mother giving her away, rather keeping all of her other children. So she had those abandonment issues, and that kind of carried on into my life. And not having the consistent love and relationship with other family members, I felt abandoned by them. And I kind of looked up to my mom. She was my most trusted person. Of course, you would trust your parents to be your guardian, your protector, the ones that love you and provide for you. But in the 8th grade, I was temporarily put in foster care. And 2 weeks later, my sister joined me. And at some point, my mother did tell me that she was contemplating on leaving me in foster care. But when they took my sister, she realized that she had to fight, and she couldn't just fight for one of us, obviously. She would have to fight for both of us. And so from that moment on, even though she did tell me at some point, I realized, oh yeah, Mari, I do want you, I never believed that. To me, it was like, you just convinced yourself that you did want me. But I feel like you have emotionally abandoned me as your daughter. And now I can never measure up to this little sister that I have. And it was such a hurtful thing, because that was the person that I loved and trusted the most. And I was betrayed by them. So then going to the next emotional thematic implication being loss of dignity and purpose. So throughout from that moment, but honestly even a little before then, like starting in the 5th or 6th grade, my mother and I have had these highs and lows in our relationships, this back and forth roller coaster of really, really, really freaking good times, and then super, super, super horrible, low down, dirty, bad times. And all the way up until I turned almost 28 years old did we finally cut off the relationship. But this time was possibly, I would say, yes, the absolute worst time, period, because everything was so tumultuous in our little isolated family already. And then for the way that the relationship was cut off, it left me with a loss of purpose, and I felt hollow. I didn't know what to do. I just felt so empty, and like, what do I do now? And even thinking about someone like Gù Máng, who was betrayed by his country, by his emperor, for not allowing him to give the 30,000 soldiers, or I'm sorry, not 30,000, give the soldiers that were killed, that died in battle, a proper burial, just a name. After that, he felt so lost and hollow and empty. And like, what do I do at this point? And the other thing, like I said, loss of dignity, it's the humiliation that came behind that. That's like, you don't deserve to live. You guys are slaves. They all died, so who cares? And so even thinking about the last conversation with my mother and a lot of the things that she said to me, and even me trying like the final line, like, hey, we haven't tried everything that we can to heal as a unit, as mother and daughter. Let's try therapy, family therapy. We've never done this before. We've tried everything else, but not this. And long story short, her answer was no. And it made me realize that, wow, she never cared about me in the first place, or cared about our relationship. And honestly, the things that she said to justify her no were so humiliating. And even afterward, she sent a message to my husband, because I had blocked her, basically cursing our marriage and saying it was going to fail because of me. And I was so humiliated, which led me, the hollowness and the humiliation led to the devoid of hope. And that was me literally taking in her words, because I saw this woman from the isolation as my idol. She was my God, basically. She was up on a pedestal no matter how much she hurt me. And for her to say that our marriage would be ruined, like hers, I was like, oh my God, she's right. If I keep doing this, or if I do this, or if I do that, my husband's going to leave me. He's going to, not want to be with me anymore. He's going to want a divorce. And I began to believe that eventually my and my husband's relationship was going to fail. And thinking about Gù Máng personally, well, not personally, but thinking about Gù Máng, he had lost all hope. He started hanging out at brothels and drinking and not getting himself back together after that humiliating moment and that betrayal and the abandonment that he faced from the emperor, from the nobles, from his country, um he didn't know what else to do. And even when there was someone trying to pull him up, like Morsi, getting him out of the dark, it just wasn't happening, and I could say for a while that was my husband trying to pull me up from the dark, and I just did not see the light at the end of the tunnel. It was pitch black all around me. It was pitch black all around Gù Máng, and so then we're moving into this enduring suffering theme where it's just the pain is ongoing. It's not just a moment of sadness, it feels inescapable. And that's how Gù Máng felt, which is why he kept himself inebriated, because he's like, I want to live, but like, I can't if I'm sober because it hurts so bad, And I felt that way too, after things finally cut off the worst way possible with my mother. I was like, where's the hope? Can I go on? Like, I want to try for my husband. I want to try for my father and sister who I had reunited with after so many years. But I didn't see the point in doing it because I was suffering. There wasn't a day that went by that Gù Máng did not think about those soldiers he couldn't get a grave for. There wasn't a day that went by, for how long, I have no idea, that I could not stop thinking about the things that my mother said to me and just obsessing over them, like, oh, if I had done this better, or if I had said that instead of this, or maybe if I would have cut it off sooner, or, then maybe things would have turned out differently, or maybe I wouldn't be as humiliated or feel so hollow and devoid of hope. It's possible we didn't get this, but maybe it's possible that Gù Máng was like, well, maybe if I would, could have tried harder, maybe if we could have fought even better, or maybe if I were a better general and had less of my soldiers die, then things would have been better than what they are now. And it's just such a powerful sorrow, a powerful suffering that kind of exposes the next emotional and thematic implication of a twisted bond in which, it's showing a entangled, tragic relationship where love, hate, and pain are all tied together, because you don't just, in complex scenarios, you don't just love someone or you don't just hate someone. It's usually a mix of those things. And so we have the story here where I'm sure Gù Máng, he deep in his heart loves Morsi, but at the same time, he thinks he's not capable of understanding. He's not able to see things like Gù Máng because he hasn't lived a life like Gù Máng. And I think about all the times in which, in this cutoff of relationship, I'm like, I hate my mom. And then I turn around and I'm like, I miss my mom. I remember when we did this together. I remember when we went to IHOP and had the best freaking hot chocolate in the world together. And then I'll go back and be like, oh, but do you remember when she said that that book you were working on was going to absolutely fail, that it was going to take you nowhere? Oh, but I also remember when she made me the best tacos that were so much better than Taco Bell when I was a little kid. Oh, but do you remember when she told you that she was going to take you and your sister and just drive off of a lake somewhere to kill you all together? And so there's this duality of like, I hate her, I love her, I hate her, I love her. And so for Gù Máng, it's not 100% clear where the full love and the hate comes, as far as if it's a dual feeling in one individual where he loves and hates them. But we definitely know that he has a love for his generals, right? The ones that he lost. He also loves Morsi, but he also has bitterness in his heart and pain tied to Morsi, thinking that he doesn't understand or doesn't truly love him for real, and the pain that he has tied to his country. And so it's just like, This line of, "You are the only one willing to give me a life worse than death." It's like, it's such a sad, sorrowful line because it's the kind of line that's derived from a character or a person who has been emotionally or physically destroyed by someone that they trusted, loved, or idolized. They're caught in between this love and hate and unable to let go of the thing or the person that is the source of that pain. And it's like a cry of acknowledgement, like, see what you have done? This is what you have left me with. And so it's like for Gù Máng to say such a line and not even know the depth of it is the thing that's so heartbreaking. But the thing about it is, even with a line like this, "Thank you for a life," or "Thank you, you were the only one willing to give me a life worse than death." From another perspective, we have to think about, which it sucks, right? That we go through trials and tribulations, we go through pain and sorrow. But a lot of times they say that you can't truly love or cherish something until you have experienced the nitty gritty, dirty, filthy pain and hurt. And so when I think about everything that has happened, that has transpired between my mother and I, as much as it hurts, even though I'm in such a better place now where I do see the light at the end of the tunnel. In fact, I'm mostly in the light. It's just moments where it feels kind of dark. But I think about the pain of that experience. And then I think about what has come out of that pain, for me to find my own voice, for me to find things that I truly enjoy and not feel like I'm pressured to be perfect at it, to find a way to make money off of it. Or, I do things simply because they bring me happiness rather than trying to figure out, how am I going to make a living out of this? Am I going to be good enough? Are people going to like it? Or is it this or is it that? Or worrying about what, the church community is going to perceive of me. I'm just like, no. And then thinking even about me starting the watercoloring journey, which is something that I was reluctant to start. And yet it's something that brings me pure joy. And no, I don't have to do it every single day, or there may be a time where I skip a week or two, but when I come to it, I like it. And it's something that who knows if I would have ever experienced, because there was a point in time where I thought music had to be my life because that is what I told my mom and that is what we invested in for so long, and that stuck with me. And it's like, oh yeah, all of the trauma that I have experienced in my life, it sucks. I hate it so much. But when I look at where I am in my life right now, I feel a lot better. I feel a lot freer. And I know that because of the pain that I have suffered, I will be able to help someone get out of the pain that they're suffering in, because there are people who suffer until they die. Like I look at, even looking at my mother, all of the pain and trauma that she has experienced, she has never gotten the help that she needs. And she's older and she's suffering. And the older you get, the harder it is to teach you new tricks, the harder it is to go away from that bitterness. And I'm like, I hope she doesn't die in that suffering and that pain, no matter how much I hate her, no matter how much I love her. um, and so I want to be a voice that can help people through their pain and suffering so that they can not only one day see the light at the end of the tunnel, but so they can step out into the light and become it, understanding that even if sometimes there is darkness, that they are the light, that they have light in their life. And so, yeah, I even think about, which is not published or anything yet, I even think about my acknowledgments in the book that I wrote. And I thanked my mother. I did. And I said, in spite of everything that you have done to me, in spite of everything that you have said, I have to thank you because I am who I am today because of you, not in spite of you, but because of you. And I guess in a way, that was like me saying, thank you. You are the only one willing to give me a life worse than death. Thank you for giving me a life worse than death. And so just unpacking that line with Gù Máng, and I mean, we're still so early. We have 6 more volumes to read, but I'd like to believe that towards the end of this story, he is going to come out on top, and everything that he has experienced is going to benefit him or change his life for the better in some kind of way that we don't see now for our wolf Gù Máng, right? And so I guess with all of that being said, from me to you, if you are someone who has experienced a life worse than death, right? Because death is easy, dying is hard. And a lot of times life feels like dying. So if you are someone, yes, who is experiencing a life worse than death, first off, I want you to know that you're not alone. A lot of times we can feel like we are, right? Especially when there are people around us and they do not seem to understand. But just because the people around you don't understand, that doesn't mean that there's not someone out there that does understand. And I'm telling you right now, I understand you. I feel your pain, even if we haven't gone through the exact same experience. Even if your betrayal has come from someone in the business industry and not a family member, even if it's come from a sibling instead of a parent. I understand your pain, and I am here with you, and I'm standing here with you and telling you that it is okay for you to feel the feelings that come with the betrayal and abandonment from someone that hurt you, someone that you trusted would have your back. It's okay for you to go through your period where you feel a sense of hollowness, where maybe you are questioning yourself. If you feel a loss of hope, that's okay. It's okay if you have been suffering for 5 years. Okay, let's just put a time on it. And you haven't necessarily gotten out of your pain yet, because pain and suffering has no time. Some people are able to get over certain things in 300 days. Some people, it takes years. It's taken me years, to get over this. It's okay if you're still suffering and it feels like it's ongoing and it's not going to end. If you put in the work and if you let the right people be there for you, I'm telling you it will, but you don't have to rush it. And you also don't have to feel bad for yourself or blame yourself for still being in the state that you're in. And then, of course, for the last theme, the twisted bonds. Look, if there is someone in your life that you love and they hurt you and you're feeling feelings of hatred or spite or anything quote unquote negative toward them, that's okay too. Don't let anyone tell you that, oh, hate is bad. You shouldn't hate people, or you shouldn't feel that way. That's your mother. You only get one mother, or you only get one father, or don't let anyone tell you that. Feel your feelings. Allow them to come to surface, because if you just stuff them down, they're only going to fester at some point until you snap. And so it's okay for you to go through your journey of pain and hurt. But it's also okay to reach out for help. Where you find that help, it depends. Sometimes it may be in a friend. Sometimes it may be in a therapist. Sometimes it may be in a YouTuber who's reading you stories about gay Chinese men that are really, really hot. The point is, I'm here for you if you need me. I'm here. And so I just wanted to talk about that phrase and share my story in hopes that it would help someone else. And I believe my email is showing on my YouTube page. I don't know. Maybe not. I'll put it in the description, but it's kamariasimmons@gmail.com. And if you ever feel like you're going through something that's just so horrible, if you don't know what to do, if you're feeling like you're in the dark, you can reach out to me. I'm not so busy that I can't reach out to you. And I'll respond. I promise you. 我答应你。我会给你一个回答. I will give you a response. I guess I should have said 我要给你一个回答. I will give you a response. Because you're not alone. So with that being said, this is, as you can see, the painting, and I've decided to call it Thank You for Giving Me a Life Worse Than Death. And I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, or a light sleep. And I'll see you next time. 我爱你们.